did a review about this a couple of years ago on YouTube, but we are going to share what we have liked, our biggest kind of frustration, and mostly for most people. Do they actually cover and do what they say they're going to do? Earlier this year, we had our first really big expense, multiple medical bills totaling about $20,000. I was really interested to see how Medishare handled this. You know, this is our biggest kind of test with them. And so I'll get to later how they handled it and how it worked out for us. But on this particular video here, there's Linda right there. She'll be joining us in a little bit. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other things. So some of our experience with them. And I also want to say that everything here, to the best of our knowledge, is accurate. But just reconfirm with Medishare, you know, on all this. All right, so things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about, like I said, our experience. And we're going to be talking about how we pay less than 50% than what we were going to pay with traditional insurance. Everything we've learned in this last 12 years of using Medishare, what you want to be aware of if you're using Medishare or really any health sharing ministry. Our biggest fears when we left traditional insurance to go to this crazy health share thing, who Medishare makes sense for and who it doesn't, and then some specific things you want to do if you do join Medishare to save really 20 to 40% once you sign up. And this is something that I think most of the Medishare members miss. So this is really, really important. Other thing I want to throw out. So Medishare has a referral deal where they you refer people, they send you a kickback. And so I'd love to share that with you. Like if you do decide, I just want this to aid in your investigating of Medishare or whatever. But if you decide to join them, I'd love to share that with you and just send you a $40 Amazon gift card. So if that's something you're interested in and you decide to go with them, just let them know that Bob Waddick referred you, and then send us an email at contact@seedtime.com and we will send you out a $40 Amazon gift card. All right, so I want to go over quickly some of the keys about Medishare, just how it works, just kind of big picture, because it's a little bit different than traditional insurance and there's some similarities, but things are a little bit different. So the first one is they have what they call an AHP, which is their annual household portion, okay? And so this is essentially your annual deductible that you pay before they pay anything. A lot of traditional insurance doesn't have an annual deductible, but this is an annual deductible. And so they have 4 different amounts, I believe, $3,000, $6,000, $9,000, and $12,000, okay? So if you're on the $3,000 one, basically, you pay everything out of pocket up to $3,000 for the year, and this is for your entire household. And then once you cross that line, then they cover all the eligible expenses after that. Yeah, so that's the gist of how that whole AHP works. And then once you get sick, or if you get sick, this is essentially the process that they want you to take. One of the perks of Medishare is that they have a telehealth service where you can do Zoom or Skype or whatever you're using to consult with a doctor, and it's completely free. And so this is really nice for a lot of different things, but this is part of being a Medishare member that they offer this service for free. Outside of that, if you don't want to do that or that doesn't go far enough, because some things you actually have to see a real doctor, they are part of the PCHS network. So that's their PPO. And if you go in the network with them, it's more advantageous for you for a couple different reasons that we'll get into. But you can also go out of network as well. So we have some doctors who aren't in that network, and we still use them, so you can still use them if that's. Now, if you do go to somebody who's in network, it makes it easier because the network understands this, and so they will submit the bill to Medishare for you. If you go to someone who's out of network, oftentimes that doctor will be like, "What's Medishare? I don't know what to do." And so then they will send you the bill, and then you need to pay it or send it to Medishare to have them take care of it from there. But point is, it's just a little bit more work if you go out of network. Not a huge deal, but it can add up if you have a whole bunch of different doctors not in network. So either way, whether you're in network or out of network, once Medishare gets the bill, one of the cool things they do is they negotiate for you. They will call the provider, basically do their thing that they do and negotiate the bill down. And that's really nice. And so that's one of the advantages of kind of having that PPO, because some of the other health sharing ministries don't have that. And so it seems like you need to do a little more negotiating there because they're not starting with that kind of initial discount that Medishare works for you. After you do that, so you sent your bill to Medishare, they've negotiated down, and at this point, you simply pay the bill after it's negotiated down. And these negotiations that they do, like they're all over the map. Like I've seen some that are only 10% discount, but I've also seen some that were about 70% discount. So they're just very, very different. But it can be a huge amount that they negotiate down for you, which is really cool. And so after that bill, so let's say I got a $1,000 bill, they reduce it, they negotiate it down to $500. Then my job is to pay that $500, and then that $500 takes off my $3,000 $1,000 annual deductible. And so now the next $2,500 comes out of my pocket. But if my next bill is, say, $5,000, they negotiate it down to $4,000, then I only have to pay $2,500 of that, and then Medishare handles the $1,500. I think my math's right here. And then the next medical bill, all the next medical bills throughout the rest of the year, they're covering. It's worked pretty well for us, and I'll get into this in a minute. We are on a high deductible plan with them. Not the top plan, but pretty high up. For us, I mean, just our journey and story on this whole thing with Medishare was that I got laid off from my job in 2008. Was it 2008? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Linda's over here. She'll be over in a minute. But so 2008 is when I got laid off. You know, I moved into this world of entrepreneurship, and I realized once I started shopping for real health insurance, once I got laid off, I'm like, this is crazy expensive. And if you've done that, if you've shopped for health insurance, you know what I'm talking about. And so I was a little bit freaked out because it's like, yeah, I'm losing my pay, and then I got this big, huge bill I'm going to have to pay. So it was pretty scary. But sometime in that, I discovered Medishare and heard about this thing. And so I started investigating a little bit. And I got really interested once I found out that a lot of people leave traditional health insurance and end up saving about 50% with them. And that ended up being about the case for us too. I think it was right around 50% cheaper than what we were going to pay with traditional health insurance. So when we were going through this journey, you know, that you might be if you're investigating them, like I had a few fears. The biggest fear was that they just wouldn't pay the bill. And so if I got into whatever bad car accident or something like that, that they just wouldn't pay the bill. I was just nervous about it being different as well. And then I also kind of thought that it might be a ton of work. And so that made me a little bit nervous as well. Ultimately, you know, the more research I did, the more I realized that none of those were really that big a concern. So they've been around for nearly 30 years now, I think. And last I checked, which was a couple of years ago, like I had heard from talking to the rep there that there's never been a eligible need that hasn't been met. And so, you know, even somebody with $1 million of medical bills that were eligible, like there's never been any that haven't been met. And so that was pretty comforting just knowing that. And their track record, like they've been around a long, long time. With it being different, you know, it is different, but it's actually, I think Medishare is more similar to traditional insurance, even though they will say it a million times that they're not insurance, and they're not, but it's more like traditional insurance than any of the other health share services I've seen. And then our fear was just that it would be a ton of work. And it is more work than regular insurance, like I said, especially if you go out of network, but not a lot. And again, comparing it to some of the other health sharing ministries, like some of them are a ton of work, and we can talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But another nice thing that Medishare has that they offer is this health incentive, which is basically a discount that they give you. And this is something you definitely want to do because you save 20% by doing this. And essentially you take blood pressure monitor. I bought this thing off Amazon for $15 or something. You just monitor your own blood pressure. You don't have to go to the doctor. And then you measure your waist, you know, get your waist circumference, and then you measure your weight. And you write these 3 things down. You type it in the website on their site, and then they give you a 20% discount. It's that simple. Now, you have to fit into the criteria that they set. My blood pressure got a little bit higher than a few months back or something like that. And so I wasn't, because the discount lasts for 1 year and then you have to renew it. And when I came to renew it, my blood pressure was a little bit high, so I wasn't eligible. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I started working on my blood pressure, and I got it down. And just a few days ago, I reapplied for the health incentive, and then boom, now again, we're saving 20%. This is a tangent, but what's really interesting about that is it's a great motivator to be healthy because I'm sitting there thinking about my blood pressure. I might not have checked it had I not done that. And on top of that, I don't know that I would have worked on it, but because there's a financial incentive, I started working on my blood pressure, so it overall makes me healthier. And anyway, so it's a pretty cool feature when you consider everything that's happening there. But 20% off, so definitely take advantage of that if you decide to join. I want to talk a little bit about what they do and do not cover, because this is something that I think people ask a lot about. So this kind of comes down to that eligible expenses thing, like what qualifies. And so this is a quick breakdown here, but basically doctor's visits, those are all going to qualify. Like we talked about, the telehealth access that they have, that's really cool. And then if you do need to go to a doctor, you can go to a doctor and do that. One of the things that, I'll hold that off. We'll get to what they don't cover. Emergency room visits, members pay $200 provider fee. So that's something that goes in there. Hospitalizations, members must pay $35 provider fee. Prescriptions, up to 6 months of FDA approved prescription drugs. Maternity, this was something that we had to find out about a couple years ago. And so this is a question I get a lot. So with the maternity, basically you need to get pregnant after you've signed up for Medishare. So if you're already pregnant and you sign up for Medishare, they're not going to cover that. you need to conceive after you've been paying into Medishare. But I believe, from what I understand, it's like just the single month. As long as you've made one payment, then you conceive, they will cover maternity. And so again, you nail down those details with them because they do change things once in a while. And what's also cool is that the members get to vote. And so it's kind of a democracy and we get to decide what the rules are. Double check that to be sure. But last I checked, sharing on maternity is limited to $125,000 for any one single pregnancy event. Another thing that's covered is well child care up to the age of 6. Okay, so routine well child care. After that, that's one of the things they don't cover. I won't get too much in that now. But adoption costs, this was something that we needed as well. And we found, and I don't know what the exact amount is that they cover at this time, but when we adopted, was it $4,000? I think it was $4,000 they gave us. Amazing. It's like, because adoptions are not cheap. And that was a pleasant surprise to find that out. All right, senior assist they cover. So seniors with Medicare Part A and B can enjoy the benefits of healthcare sharing. So that's cool. Disability expenses. So they have a MANA program. It's called MANA or whatever. And this is kind of their version of the disability insurance a little bit. And they're able to replace up to 80% of lost income for up to a year. But that's a separate program called MANA. So you can look into that if you want. Funeral expenses up to $5,000 are eligible for sharing. Another thing that comes up a lot is pre-existing conditions. And there's a lot of confusion out there about this, and this is the most recent thing I found. So they don't exclude people for having pre-existing conditions, but what they do is they won't pay anything on that for 36 months, okay? So again, you can call them and confirm that with them, that is the current policy, but that is the last update that I have on it. It's just something to keep in mind. So if you have something really expensive, so just definitely keep that in mind. All right, hon, do you want to come over and share some of our experience from the last 12 years? And we did this review 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know. You said, people ask me how Medishare is, and I just say, I don't know, ask Bob.
I do.
I think that's what you said. I don't know. How do you feel? Like, do you remember what it was like with regular insurance? I know it's been a long time.
Well, we kind of had the cream of the crop insurance before because I worked at a church, and they really took good care of us. I did not pay a dime for anything, pretty much.
No, but let's just talk about the doctor experience of going into a doctor. Like, does it feel any different to you?
The only thing that feels different is they don't always understand what Medishare is.
But that's pretty much just when they're out of network, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that, that's not even always the case. Sometimes
it's kind of funny. They look at you like, what is this?
Yeah, but it's also not that big of a deal. Like once you know what to say.
Yeah, in worst case scenario, it's like, I'm just self-pay. Just give me the bill. And then we send it to Medishare.
So yeah, it's really just not that big of a deal.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think I was saying this a minute ago, I feel like it is a good on-ramp for people kind of transitioning to the health sharing stuff because I feel like it is really similar to traditional insurance. Whereas, yeah, like I was saying, some of the other health sharing, and some of the other health sharing ministries like have some good features that they offer. But one of the things that has turned me off with a number of them is the involvement. Maybe. Like, I don't want to have to be super involved. And so what I mean by that is essentially with Medishare, what you're doing is all the members are sharing each other's needs and their burdens and their financial bills, okay? Mm-hmm. And so early this year when we had a $20,000 bill, like the members who are paying into Medishare are the ones who are helped doing that. But we don't have 300 members sending us checks for $50 for us to then go pay that bill. It's Medishare is just taking care of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas some of the other Christian sharing ministries, it's kind of like that. And so if we would have that $20,000 bill, we'd be getting 300 checks in the mail from all these different people designed to cover that. To
cover the bill. Mm-hmm.
Or on the flip side, multiple times a month, we're writing a check and then we have to mail it to this individual person. And to me, like in this phase of life, that feels a little bit more involved than I want to be. That's part of what has been attractive about Medishare to us is the hands-off approach. And it's very similar to health insurance.
Well,
it's felt
and you kind of did a review on that with Wes, right?
Yeah.
Where
so we have and we'll try to get this linked up in the description. I don't think it's down there right now, but I did a review with a friend of mine who's on Samaritan ministry, and we just kind of talked about the pros and cons of each.
Yeah, and the differences.
And that's one of the things that Samaritan, how they work, or at least the time we did that interview.
And depending on your style, I guess.
He loves it. He absolutely loves it.
He loves it. So, I mean, it just depends on kind of what you're looking for, I guess.
Yeah, because they're just very different things. You just need to be aware of that. Mm-hmm. But that's a video worth checking out. I'll try to get the link in soon once we finish this up. Yeah, so like I said, we started in 2009. One of the things I've noticed is that the customer support over the years has actually gotten better, which is good. Because when we first started, I remember calling there, and we'd be on the phone for like 45 minutes waiting to talk to somebody.
Oh, you're right.
I
I
don't know
have
if you
not
remember
had that experience.
And that's been a long time since.
Yeah.
So they've caught up with the customer service and like gotten better there.
And I don't know if you saw that email. He forwarded an email to me from them, and it says they're about to have an app.
Ooh, they got an app.
Well, that's going to make things a lot more convenient.
For what? Sorry, I don't even know what it's about.
I think for submitting stuff.
Ah, all right. Okay, I'm not making fun
anymore.
anymore.
I think there's a bunch of things that are coming,
All
and
right.
they're getting ready to roll it out. So that's going to make it even easier.
Cool.
I wonder if they'll have customer support on there too. So then you don't even have to call anybody.
Because we're millennials, and
who
millennials don't
wants
like
to
calling anybody.
get on the
Like,
phone
we
these
wanna
days?
Text and have a
Just
chat
wanna-
box.
Get
All right.
it over with without talking to people.
All right. So my biggest frustration with Medishare, and really this is all the health sharing ministries, is that you can't have an HSA with them. Okay. So for those who don't know, an HSA, health savings account, is basically an investment account that you can put money into, and you have tax advantages of doing so, and then you can use that for medical expenses in a wide variety of medical
Is this
expenses.
because of the way health sharing?
It's a
thing is set up?
governmental thing. It's not their
Right, so
fault,
it's like-
but you need a high deductible plan in order to have an HSA. And at this point, you can't have one with Medishare. And I'm really bummed because we used to have one, and it's really nice because there's a lot. It's a much wider net of what you can use that money for, and you have the tax advantages of putting it in there and stuff. But anyway, all right. So let's talk about the $20,000 in medical bills we had this year. How do you feel like they did? Like, because this was the first time I feel like we really put them to the test.
Yes. I've never had an experience, honestly, with a big medical bill, but I
With traditional insurance?
with traditional insurance, yes. So this is kind of the first time where it's just like, this is a lot. And I feel like no matter your insurance, there's going to be some back and forth of what's been taken care of, what hasn't, and who you owe what to, just because there's so many pieces. But yeah, I mean, I feel like after we met our deductible, we just sent them stuff and we never saw anything else from them, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what it was. Like, because I think that first bill that came in was for $1,500 or something like that. And so we paid that one. And then the next one came in and it was like $14,000 or something, right? Wasn't it? And I'm like, oh, man.
I don't remember.
It's like being in the ER for 6 hours adds up really fast. And then a couple more. Like, it kept on trickling in. It's like one after another.
Well, yeah, we just got another one a couple days ago.
Yeah. It's just,
Why are we still
anybody
getting
who's
these?
had like a big medical thing, you know how this works. It's like they just keep coming. But once so that big one, that $14,000 one, that was the one that put us over the limit for our AHP. And so, we sent it to them. They negotiated it down, and then they paid that chunk and then left us with, I think, a couple $1,000s. And then, like you said, after that, it's like we've just sent the bills to them, or the provider sent them directly to them, and they're just all getting covered.
Yeah.
And that's fun. And so anyway, all that to say,
So,
I feel like it worked.
Other than just like putting the pieces together, there really wasn't much for us to do.
Yeah, in which that's anytime you have a big medical thing like this, regardless of what insurance
that's
situation you
gonna happen.
have, it's like it can get messy, and there's just a lot of pieces. So
No, but also I don't feel like we got any phone calls. I've heard of this happening to some
Samaritan?
friends. No, not with Samaritan, but just with some friends who have traditional insurance. They will call them, and they'll call the card holders and dispute the charges. Like, we had one friend who she ended up giving birth. Do you remember this? At like 26 weeks. Okay, if you know anything about pregnancy, 26 weeks is way too early. They had twins. One of them almost died. I mean, it was a horrible thing for them to just live through. And on top of that, they had their insurance company saying, well, you just didn't want to be pregnant anymore, and doing that kind of thing to them.
oh my gosh,
While their children are like literally fighting for their lives. And
that's terrible.
it's terrible. Anyway, so because it was a huge medical bill that they just didn't want to pay. There's not been any of that with us. I haven't had anything like that.
That's true. And that brings up another thing about, like, part of the reason a lot of people like Medishare or any of these Christian health sharing ministries is just that you're not financially supporting anything that doesn't align with your beliefs. I mean, I can't say that for everybody, but for us, that's something that I feel good about, because when you're, paying into traditional health insurance, that money is going to support and take care of stuff that doesn't particularly align with our beliefs. And so that is something that I think some people really value and find to be important.
Plus,
so
it keeps some of the costs down
yeah,
because I think some
absolutely.
of those are choices, maybe lifestyle choices that,
Yeah, for sure. So talking about who Medishare makes sense for and who it doesn't make sense for, I would say someone who wants something that feels really similar to traditional insurance, like we were talking about, or an easy transition to this new thing, like there's a benefit there, and or someone who, like I just said, doesn't want to financially support something you have more objection to. And the other thing it's important to add here is that it's for Christians living a biblical lifestyle. It's something worth looking into if you're on some sort of blurry line there,
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that I would consider, like, we don't have kids that are driving, but I would consider what my kids' lifestyle choices are if they are under our care still and on our insurance.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, I want to show you what we pay for our family of 5. We're both 40. You just turned 40. And so we're both 40 now. I'm going to flip the screen and just kind of see if I can do this real quick. All right, so this is our most recent Medishare bill. Like I said, we're in a high deductible plan, and this plan we're grandfathered into this one because right now they have a $3,000, $6,000, $9,000, and $12,000 plan. We are on a $10,500 plan. That's our deductible, and we're paying $309 per month for that plan. For me being age 40, this is our family of 5. And like I was telling you before, the health incentive thing, that 20% off discount is not included in this because I got kicked off of it because my blood pressure went up. But we just got back on just a few days ago. So on the next bill, this will be 20% lower, which would be what? How much is that? Probably $240.
Oh, and I don't know if you said a family of 4. I thought you said a family of 4, but we're a family of 5.
We're a family of 19. So, yes. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that's what we're paying for our family. And there's a variety of factors that go into there, but your age is a big factor. And I don't think
Just
number of kids
lifestyle?
matters.
I think it might be lifestyle, like your weight, your blood pressure, some of those things. No?
I don't remember, because that's where the health incentive comes in. But did we have to do a physical to join or anything? I don't think so.
Gosh, it's been so long. I honestly
It has
don't
been so long, and
remember.
they might have changed it
Right,
at this
so it
point.
doesn't
But
matter.
anyway, yeah. So with all that in mind, so with your annual household portion, this is another way to save some money if you decide to join them. I created a video where I broke down all the different AHPs, or annual deductibles, if you will, and basically what I've determined is the best one and why, and which ones are better for who in which scenarios. So I just did some math. I built a spreadsheet.
Sounds like something you did for fun.
And I did it for fun. But I don't have a link down to that down below. Like, you can search SeedTime Medishare and probably find all of these different things. I think we have that in the title on them, but search YouTube SeedTime Medishare if you want to find it. But I'll put a link to that in the description soon if it's not there already. Yeah, so the $48 Amazon gift card that I talked about at the beginning. Yeah, so they have the referral program where if you refer somebody, they give you a kickback. And so, like I said, we want to share that with you if you decide to join them. And so send us an email, contact@SeedTime. If you do that. And when you're signing up, they'll ask you who referred you. Just say Bob Loddick. And they'll take care of that on that end, and then we'll share that with you and send you a $48 Amazon gift card. But just email me at contact@seedtime.com so I can make sure we get it to you. All right, so
It's a pretty good deal.
questions. One question I have here: can you join anytime, or does it need to be in an open enrollment period? And that is a good question. So right now it's November 2nd, so it is officially open enrollment, but the Medishare doesn't apply for Medishare. You can join anytime, but this is the time of year when everybody's thinking about it because traditionally this is the window when a lot of health insurances open up. Our prescriptions shared. Yes, the prescription drugs. Yeah, I think it's up to 6 months of treatment per.
I'm sorry.
All
I'm
right,
putting
that's
in
driving me
a.
nuts.
I'm putting in a. I put in a comment just to make sure. Okay, so
That's us.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so prescription drugs
I
up
think-
to 6 months of treatment is eligible.
I think you just did such a good job answering all the questions.
Great. Awesome.
That's what I think.
So
Very
anyway,
thorough.
all right, we've been very long and thorough on this. Keep the questions coming, and we'll try to answer them once we close this thing down. And that's all. Thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, and we'll see you guys. Adios.